Good afternoon, everyone. I guess and I hope energized after the coffee break. So next half an hour we will talk about a story of Lithuania becoming a fintech hub. And not many, or actually probably no one in the audience knows that every month or so we gather with these wonderful ladies that I will present in a moment for closed-door discussions. We call it Fintech Builders Breakfast. So basically we change what we do there. We change insights, ideas, and this is how we actually push the fintech ecosystem going. And let's jump in the history to 2016, when Lithuania made a bold bet. Bet on fintech, actually. And what followed next was a fantastic transformation, which these ladies not only witnessed, but actually helped to shape. So, ladies, maybe we can gather here on stage. Come on here, and let me present. Deimante Zemgulyte is a senior investment advisor in the investment promotion agency Invest Lithuania. She actually combines academic expertise with policy work, engaging with stakeholders. And besides that, she draws on her experience from international relations, fintech compliance, and advancing transparency. So next one we see is Guobužaitė. She's a head of fintech section in INFOBALT, the biggest digitech association here in Lithuania. And sorry. Okay. Yes, thanks for that. And Laura is an interdisciplinary executive with an expertise across fields like fintech, transport, IT, B2B sectors. Also, she excels in international project management, strategic development, and so leveraging on this experience helps Laura to prompt financial innovation here. And last one we see is Greta Ranonytė is the head of Fintech Hub LT. This is an association uniting licensed fintech entities in Lithuania. She also holds a strong academic background in public policy, in political science, and she was working in the finance ministry for a while, shaping fintech policy and regulation. So she truly advances industry development in Lithuania. And finally, let me introduce myself. I'm Skaiste Budbergyte-Zabielaite, the co-founder and managing director of Crypto Economy organization here in Lithuania. And what we do is we unite reputable crypto players in the industry. As I like to say in my previous life, I've consulted fintechs, now contribute as a board member. So, let's start at the very beginning, when Lithuania's fintech story was actually more an experiment rather than a headline. And as I mentioned, in 2016, it was a turning point for Lithuania to become a fintech hub. So I'm still wondering whether it was by accident or by design. And Deimante, I think you can tell us how actually Lithuania became a fintech hub and what were the, let's say, key separating factors that Lithuania outstanded.
So first of all, hello everyone, and thank you so much for invitation to join this panel. I think you kind of began telling the story when you began this panel discussion because the transformation of fintech was driven by community, was driven by a very, very strong leadership. So it was in essence by design because what happened is main stakeholders, Ministry of Finance, Bank of Lithuania, industries associations, came together and formed the strategy. They wanted to position Lithuania as a gateway to the EU market. And that was done in order to, first of all, attract global players then to encourage innovation and also to increase competition in a market that is actually yet still very much dominated by Scandinavian banks. And also back in 2016, I mean, Brexit was a huge deal and it played a huge role because after UK left the EU, what happened is a lot of UK-based companies suddenly were looking for their new EU base, and Lithuania kind of came with a solution for them. Like, here you go. I mean, we have a streamlined regulation, a lot faster licensing process, and an ecosystem ready for you. And for us at Invest Lithuania, you know, what we had to do at that point is to amplify that message and to spread it across EU as well as like a more global arena, and, you know, tell a story about small EU country where you can get regulated and then to service the rest of the EU. And I think one thing led to another, and Lithuania quite quickly became the largest fintech hub in the EU in terms of licensed fintechs. And I think what separated Lithuania was this agility, credibility, like this whole speed. And I think that is still one of the biggest advantages that we have, and that we always, you know, introduce as one of our key value propositions for companies that are interested in Lithuania. Because if we compare ourselves with other European countries, licensing process here is still a lot faster than in other countries. And I think other key factors that are still very important is our talent pool, because we're still very cost effective if we compare ourselves with other financial hubs like London, Berlin. So I think these were sort of the key parts.
Thanks, Deimante. I think you did well, obviously, you know, where we're at now. And Greta, I think I will turn to you while asking, you know, in the beginning, there were some bold decisions that some of us or them thought to be risky, but what actually paid off at the time?
Good evening to everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I represent Fintech LT, an association. We unite, as it was said, licensed fintech companies from different segments. So I really enjoy telling the story of Lithuania's success through those different sectors. So a few bold decisions that attracted those specific companies. The biggest segment in Lithuania is, of course, payments. And what, of course, Deimante said about the passporting after Brexit, the companies that were working in payments needed access to EU markets, so they established in Lithuania. Now, why payment companies chose Lithuania was because of CentralLink. And this is the one bold decision that was made by the Bank of Lithuania. So CentralLink is a central bank operated payment system, similar to Target, but of course Target is with where all banks participate, and each country have their own payment systems as well. So in Lithuania we have CentralLink, but usually central banks only allow credit institutions, so the bigger banks, to join SEPA payments via those central bank operated payment systems. And what our Bank of Lithuania did, they said, okay, maybe we should expand this and allow not only banks but also payment companies use SEPA via central bank, so use the CentralLink system. And it was a very important decision. No other countries did that. Of course, now we have Spain, who also have their own system. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of their own system, but they also allow it for electronic money institutions to join SEPA, but it is operated not by the central bank, but by the biggest banks. So what it did, this bold decision, it made payments cheaper for these companies, for electronic money institutions to process, because they can do it not directly, indirectly via central bank, rather than going to the credit institution, which makes it much more expensive. And then, of course, with the fast licensing and Brexit, Lithuanian government said, okay, we will give you access to SEPA, come establish here in Lithuania. The second sector, which is growing in Lithuania, it's peer-to-peer lending and crowdfunding. So the bold decision in Lithuania in terms of crowdfunding was having the national legislation way ahead of the EU. So the EU crowdfunding regulation was approved, I think, in 2020, but our national law was established in 2017. So with having a national legislation, it allowed companies to start their business and start operating in Lithuania. And that is why we now already have, I think, 12 or 14 crowdfunding licenses, European licenses in Lithuania. With these licensed companies and with the banks also, there is another, specialized banking license. But this allowed for quite a lot of companies to come established in Lithuania. And with the license segment, of course, the license segment also grew. So with the RegTech solutions, SubTech solutions, data centers, and etc. So, to summarize, I would say that all of those decisions were made top to down. There were the government, the Bank of Lithuania, they sat down, they said, we need to attract investment, we need to attract companies. What can we do to do so?
Your first example actually resembles me the discussion before when they said that the regulator is usually reacting. I'm pretty sure we can agree that our regulator was proactive in many instances. So, yeah.
I have a fun example of this proactiveness, if I may. So I think it was 2019 where Marius Jurgilas, who at that time was the board member at the Bank of Lithuania, he came to one of the events where there were many people from fintechs, and he stood on this stage and he said, "Okay, hello, who read Bali agenda?" And it was complete silence. And of course, Bali agenda was where the banks came and then they wrote this whole, let's call it roadmap for fintech success or for fintech growth. And he was the only one, the regulator, who has read the Bali agenda before everybody else. So yeah, I would say they were proactive.
Definitely. Okay, Laura, I have this, let's travel in time a little bit and get back to this story when it was still in the making. If you get to rewrite the story, how would you prompt the innovation at that time?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, it's really a great pleasure to to be on the stage and also join the excellent company that we are more or less related and communicating every day on fintech versions.
You got to be called today Charlie's Angels on fintech, so obviously give a round of applause for the ladies.
Yeah, it's true. So. I was really like a person who joined this Lithuanian project on scale on fintech, on development, fintech, environment, attracting companies, and etc. I was responsible for international events. How to scale abroad them, how to start to scale and start to put Lithuania name on a map as a fintech country. So yeah, all what you mentioned, it's clear that was really a bold decision of Lithuania, I'm really a happy person because I know this story, and now if I would have this power, nice, tool to return the history, I would go back. I would remind us of Alan Kay's words. Famous computer scientist and visionary, who said that if you want to invent future, you predict the future, you need to invent it. And I think in this case, we invented Lithuanian FinTech Hub, and what I really I would, I would emphasize more and did much earlier our talent pipelines and cross-sector cooperation. Much earlier and starting from the beginning. Yes, the bold decision of Lithuanian regulator at that time was really a turning point. And you can imagine if we paired them much earlier from the beginning with structured infrastructure, structured ecosystem, yes, with IT providers, with fintechs, national traditional banks, wide the tech sector from the beginning. So we really today, we would export not only financial services, but we will earn much earlier our trust and reliable and scaling of our products. The second thing what I would rewrite, and maybe it's not rewrite, it's very bad word. It's not rewrite. To maybe make to give more energy, emphasize on talent pipelines. Yes, so you can imagine if Lithuania at that time would invest more on retraining programs, coding academies, and invested in building up high professionals, the pipeline of high professionals. Today, we will export not only products, but also high fintech specialists, professionals. So,
well, Laura, I couldn't agree more. Actually, I wonder maybe we would be already a global fintech hub. But these are actually the building blocks, and I really wonder what happens, after the launch. And this brings us probably to today. Let's zoom out and see the fintech market like from a bird's view. Greta, you're probably the best one to tell.
Who here enjoys numbers? Raise your hands
Everyone. These are scientists. Some inputs here. Yeah.
Let's try to remember them. So we have 280 fintech companies currently operating in Lithuania, maybe even more. What we don't count in this number are virtual asset service providers, because there is specific criteria how many people must work in those and whether they have applied for a license or not. So we not include those, but the ones that are operating as or preparing for being a crypto asset service provider, they are included. So 282. Now in these companies, there are 8,000 people working. And in Lithuania, these kind of people, it's around 50.3% of them work in small and medium business. When we compare it to the EU average in the financial sector, only 35% work in small and medium businesses. So it means that most of, it's not out of 8,000 people, but out of everybody who is working, it's mostly in the small and medium, which shows that how we are moving from large corporations to small businesses in the country, which was, of course, one of the goals, right? To make sure that there are small and medium businesses in the country. These people make twice the average of Lithuanian salary, so around 2,500. Two hands, netto. Fintech, or more broadly speaking, financial services and insurance is the number one sector in terms of value added when we count the growth. So in the last 10 years, the value added in financial services grew the most out of all of the sectors in Lithuania, even surpassing IT, which is of course the biggest one in the country right now. Now, all subsectors are also growing annually around 30% by their, the scope of activity is growing at around 30% each year in all of the segments. What else? What are different numbers? 36.
I know that 2023, the year, was has a nice number that you can say in terms of taxes.
It's 2024, and the number of taxes was 244 million paid in taxes. And in 2023, the income of all fintechs in Lithuania reached 2.1 billion euros. So quite a lot compared to other
Yeah,
countries.
and if I may add, I think the revenue in the past 3 years grew 3 times.
Yeah.
And it is anticipated that it will grow even further by Fintech, like their own calculations.
But actually, Deimante, that was my next question, and you already started answering. Invest Lithuania prepares yearly a well-rounded fintech report. So you can also, in terms of inclusion, unless Greta still has something in store.
I just, wanted to show some of the numbers, but basically what's been happening in Lithuania in the last few years is that the number of companies is not growing that much anymore. Each year we grow by 3-5 companies, the total number, because some of the companies do go bankrupt, some of those are being sold, and stuff happens, of course. Only half of the sector is profitable currently, so there are some issues, but overall the activities are growing. So in 2021, the government, with their second stage of strategy, at first they said, okay, let's grow in terms of numbers, let's have this quantitative growth. And in 2021, when we did, they said, okay, that is enough. We have enough companies in the country. Now we need to invest in the quality of those companies, in the scope of activities, and of course, we have to invest into the resources of supervisory authorities. One thing that I would change, coming back to Laura's question, was that in the beginning, more attention should have been given to the resources, to the authorities as well.
That's very true. Deimante, anything to add here, or?
Yeah, if I just, because you already mentioned the number of people who are working in the fintech sector, and I think that is also something that really shows how the sector is maturing and growing, because even if we compare the number of the workforce in fintech companies in 2020 and now, it has doubled. So it really shows that the fintech's part in the economy is growing and is getting stronger. But as for inclusivity part, each year when we do this overview, what we want to see is, of course, first of all, I think the most important thing that everyone is curious about is the number of fintech companies that we have in the country. But what we also want to see is the number of employees, the share of women in working in these companies. Also, how do they try to diversify their teams? How do they see their future, and so on? Because for us, it's like checking the temperature. How's the sector is doing? Where do government needs to perhaps give more focus? And major trends that we see right now is that actually companies are growing in numbers in terms of employees, and they're planning to grow even further, because around 80% of companies that we surveyed, they say that they are going to hire this year as well. So we expect that 8,000 will be higher, become a higher number next year. So fingers crossed for that.
Good luck to them finding specialists.
Yes.
we do have that problem.
But yeah, I mean, just a very brief comment on what Laura said. I think it took a bit time for market to kind of get to that pace that it needs to be. But right now, I think when it comes to a compliance specialist, it's not a huge issue. It's more about senior IT specialists, but hopefully, we will have a bigger pipeline in the next few years because of the attention given to that area. But yeah, going back to inclusivity. So we see that around half of workforce in fintech companies is women, and around 33% of executive teams include women as well. But I think it's not a huge surprise for any of us, or at least it shouldn't be, because in general, I mean, if we look at Lithuania in different rankings, we would see that it ranks quite high in terms of that. Although if we zoom out a little bit and look only into tech positions, we did see that the share of women in tech positions decreased from 25% to 18% this year. But I kind of like to look at it not as a red flag, but more like an call to action that companies, associations, and obviously government should double down on all the initiatives focused on women in tech. So, educating girls in schools that, that is also something that they can grow up and do, and that the sector is welcoming for them. And the last thing I want to mention when it comes to inclusivity is international angle, because we do see that around 50% of fintech companies in Lithuania hire international staff. And even if we compare this number to what it was a few years back, we do see a significant shift. So it shows that our fintech ecosystem really is not local anymore. It's very international. And we do expect this number to grow as well, because we do also look at the foreign specialists as an asset to us that can actually help us with our talent pipeline.
Okay, wonderful reflections actually, but this leaves us with a couple of more minutes, and let's take a look to the future. Laura, I'm looking at you at this point. Let's all think what could be the actual next frontier for Lithuania, not staying as a hub, but maybe evolving to a global fintech innovation laboratory. I don't know. Let's just let ourselves guess around a little bit. Just a few more minutes. Laura, what are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I could speak 1 hour for this question, but okay, in few sentences. To be honest, when I'm traveling a lot abroad and trying to sell Lithuania, and including fintech sector, yes. So, and a lot of companies, our companies, they are, now mature. I'm talking about fintech sector, yes. So they are also traveling with me, and when we see. What is, first of all, the reaction when we say that this is Lithuanian company, international audience, we are recognized. You don't need to explain what does it mean Lithuania in most of the countries. I am talking outside the European Union, and that we are really very proud of that and being for a small country. But the second, what I have seen it, that our experience, our competences in such areas like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, what else? Particular artificial intelligence, and nowadays how companies, they are implementing, innovating, and putting all these technologies to putting to financial sector and piloting with other international companies, their clients, and it's amazing. And actually our export rate increased for the last 5 years 10 times. So this is really a big question and issue for us. So innovation, test bed, as I'm calling, for our sector is important. Test bed. It means that testing different technologies, piloting different technologies in as I mentioned it before, in cybersecurity, in artificial intelligence. By the way, Lithuania is joining artificial intelligence gigafactory, yes, together with other international abroad foreign countries. When we are creating, and now by the end of this year, we will have artificial intelligence factory here in Lithuania. So what does it mean? It means a real nice environment and improve more technology. Yeah, sorry, I know.
I guess I need to stop you last moments. So just ladies, if you have anything to add, one sentence, one word, what would that be? Where are we heading? Where could we be heading?
My wish is for especially licensed fintech segment to start seeing technology not as something to implement, rather something to create.
Nice.
And my dream is that Lithuania becomes a top jurisdiction for global fintechs, and that companies would not come here to Lithuania only for a license, but that they would come here to develop their products, test them here, and scale from Lithuania.
I guess what I would add on my behalf is, I really love what David and Lat are doing here, and I would wish for, world-class academia, which we have here in the hall, to collaborate as much as possible, to co-create what we cannot yet to imagine. That would be, nice to witness. But I guess from what we talked is quite clear that our story is still in the making. It's still in the writing, and I would wish for ourselves, for policymakers, even more bold decisions, and the rest will follow. So thank you, ladies. Thanks everyone that has been with us.